Hi, guys. Hello to all 15 of you. Oh, 16. Amazing. I'm so happy to be back. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on here. Let's see, who do we have in the room? Raise your hand if it's your first time joining. I see some definitely familiar names and some new people as well. My name is Alicia. I'll be guiding us through tonight's workshop. It's a really important topic in this day and age. Okay, we just jumped up from 16 to 20. Awesome. Welcome everybody that just is joining. We have a Q&A box on this Zoom meeting, and that's where we're going to be doing our communicating. And then we also have a raise hand feature. So while we're waiting for more people to join, we'll probably get started in about 4 minutes. I would love for you to use that Q&A box to introduce yourself. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you're focused on modeling or if you're focused on acting or both, I was just going to start a little intro about myself. My name's Alicia, and I've been modeling for 10 years now, and I've been doing these Zoom workshops for 9 since 2020, so 6 years. And this is one of the newer workshops that I've rolled out because it's increasingly becoming very important skill sets. I probably get a self-tape request at least once a week. And digitals are something that honestly have been important since the beginning of my career. And they're very, very, very important that we have an understanding of what constitutes good digitals, what they are, what they're used for, and how they can book us a lot of work. And we're going to be going over all of the logistics for filming a really good self-tape audition. Back in the day, everything was in person. So when I first started modeling in 2016, I was taking a train to New York City just to go to a callback for 5 minutes. I grew up in Connecticut. The train ride itself was an hour and a half. And so sometimes it was only 5 minutes, and then I had to turn around and go back home. So nowadays, since 2020, things kind of shifted and we realized that a lot of stuff can be done online. And so a lot of work that I book is through self-tapes and my strong set of digitals. We also have our portfolios, which is a completely separate, which if you guys want to come to the workshop on Monday, we're going to be talking all about building a strong portfolio. So yeah, raise your hand if you've ever submitted a self-tape request or an audition online. And yeah, how did it go? In the beginning of my career, I really just kind of went with it. I didn't understand good lighting and all of that. So we're going to break all of that down for you guys tonight. Let me see what you guys are saying. It's good to see you guys too. Hello again. We've got some actors, modeling, and musicians. Model and actor. I'm too old to be a model. That's not true. This industry is home to all ages, focusing on both acting and modeling. Hello, hello. Learning more about the modeling world. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys made it tonight. I think digitals are really important stepping stone for us to get more work. And how am I going to go back here? Hang on. Okay. There we go. So our number one question, raise your hand if you have asked yourself this time and time again, is how can I get more work? You know, I feel like I'm doing all the things that I need to do, but I'm just not getting booked. How can I get more work? And the thing that we have to understand in this day and age, like I was talking about, is that the casting directors and agents often just meet you through your images. Back in the day, we used to do open calls and show up, but now everything can be submitted online. So one way that you can get more work and sign on with more projects and get seen and audition more is to have a strong set of digitals that are updated often and that keep improving. So somebody broke it down recently to me, and they said that casting directors often see the same images of you. So if you haven't updated your digitals or updated your portfolio in a long time, it's going to make you less of a good choice for the role. They want to see that you're committed. So one thing to break down for you guys is a lot of these big brands or um, projects, movies, commercials, they go ahead and they hire a casting agency to go ahead and make all the selections for them to handle the whole process. And so these casting agencies have worked for many different clients. So if you keep submitting the same material, you might get overlooked. So it's really important to understand that we have to update these and we have to update them often and we have to get good at them. When I first started, I was not good at them. It's almost like just being put on the spot and asking to get your picture taken. Sometimes you're in a swimsuit, sometimes you're in um, your normal wardrobe, which we'll go over. But these digitals, back in the day, they used to be called Polaroids before digital cameras emerged. And it was like literally your one shot and the picture would develop. And so you had to bring all of that energy to that shot. You had to have a good, confident stance. And that was what they would go off of. They would line everybody's Polaroids up who showed up to the casting, and they would go ahead and by the process of elimination, but they were doing it off of that one photo that you took. Now it's a lot easier in these days because a digital camera in any given 20 minutes could take over 100 pictures and you can go through and select the best ones. So we have a lot of things going for us in this day and age. We don't even really have to show up to the casting room anymore or feel the pressure or size out the competition in the room. So it's really important that we get good at our digitals and we have really good quality images that we're sending in that are going to grab their attention. And it's just going to be basically a current representation of you. It's a natural representation of you. This is often step one in the process of how do I make more money. You can have a ton of meetings with different agencies, different clients, and at some point they're going to pull out a camera and they're going to say, okay, why don't we get some digitals on you? So these are my very first digitals that I've ever taken. Back in 2018, I did audition for America's Next Top Model back in like 2010. And I can remember asking my mom to take pictures of me. We found a blank wall in my room and we submitted, and I actually got called back to audition. Didn't make it on, but that was like my very first step in trying to build this forward momentum, this dream that I had in my heart that I really wanted to model and be a part of this fashion industry. So it can be a little nerving when they pull out a camera and it's like, okay, let's go. And you're just like, what do I do with my hands? How do I look? Am I smiling? Am I not? Is my outfit right? But basically, you're going to want to wear something like this. Black on black is like the formal model or actor, I guess, wardrobe. Um, but it's important to have a little bit of separation. So this belt here is creating a separation so that it doesn't look like one big long suit. So you can clearly see the body proportions, where the waist is. And we've got here a head to toe shot, and we've got like a 3/4 shot on the left side. So I like how I did for my first time. I have a slight smile in one of them and a very serious face in the other. But basically, these images are going to get sent to clients when they're thinking about working with you. They're going to look at your portfolio. They're going to maybe look at your resume. Maybe you have a little short of all of your filming stuff that you've done. But most importantly, they're always going to dial it back and they're going to say, all right, can you send the model's most recent digitals? And this will be sort of the material that they're looking to get. It's just going to show you in a natural light, in a natural state. Um, not having any professional makeup or styling done. It's basically just a snapshot of you and how you present on camera. So this involves having good movement. I do talk a lot about posing in Monday's workshop if you guys want to get more information on posing on camera, but it involves a lot of movement, good posture. I always forget to put the shoulders back and have the core tight. As far as eye contact with camera, of course, we want to have eye contact with, but we can also have it off camera. And has anybody ever heard of a smize? I know I've talked about it with a few of you guys before. Smize is a term that was coined by Tyra Banks. She used it a lot in filming America's Next Top Model. And if you think about building intensity with your eye, building that connection with the camera so that it's not just a human being standing there looking at the camera, you want to have some sort of gaze behind your eyes, some sort of intention. And we call this a smize because it's basically like you're smiling with your eyes. And you want to just give variation of poses. If you think about the photographer, let's switch roles here. So let's say this is a photography class and you are taking pictures of the model. If the model is just standing there in one position, it's going to make your job harder to get different types of images. So you want to give variation, different placements of your hands, different stances, angles. And like I said, we go over that a lot in depth on Monday's workshop. So I'm always happy to go over posing because it took me a really long time to understand it and understand how to present on camera. So basics of a great digital, we talked a little bit about that black on black outfit, and that's like a safe choice. If you're somebody who wants to express yourself a little bit more, I would stay within the color lines of like jeans, white tank top, gray tank top, or short sleeves. But basically, what we're looking for is fitted attire. So we don't want to have anything to be too baggy or too loose. Everything wants to be fitted so they can see your proportions and just think really basic. So we don't want to go in there with like a floral shirt or anything that has any patterns or logos on it. Think solid colors. And really, they're looking to see the most natural state of you. So yes, I love a good chunky earring. I love jewelry. I love curling my hair and stuff, but sometimes that can be a little bit of a distraction. So your natural texture of your hair would work great. Anything you can do to slick it and make it look neat and styled. But you don't want to go in wearing your watch, wearing all your rings, wearing big jewelry, or having heavily painted nails. Just think of yourself as a blank canvas. Other traditional wardrobes that you should be prepared to bring is a swimsuit or athletic wear. I've had digitals taken here in swimwear and also in like a yoga pant and sneaker. And this is good because it shows swimwear clients and athletic wear clients what you look like in that type of wardrobe. We talked about hair as well. And one thing in my personal life, I love to wear my hair down and I'm always wearing it in front and stuff. But for a model, if I take all my pictures like this, it's not really going to show a lot of my features. So depending on if your photographer is directing you or not, it's really up to the model to understand that hair off the shoulders is always going to present much more better so that people can see your features. I like this look the best where it's like some is behind and some is forward. You got to think if maybe a hair commercial is getting their hands on these digitals, you still want to be able to show some variation in the texture of your hair, the length of your hair, and all of that. So your typical poses, this is a front image, but you can do a side image. You can do 3/4 where you're just facing turned a little bit. Full body is head to toe, and then we have close-up beauty shots as well. And those can appeal to makeup brands, skincare brands, and stuff. But if you are an actor and you're going to be on screen, they're going to want to see all different angles of you and they're going to want to see skin texture and all of that. It's all things that they're scanning for when they receive these digitals. Natural light is going to be the absolute best to take your images in. So this image was taken at my agency about 3 months ago. So I'm already probably due for new digitals. You want to update them about every 3 to 4 months. So the natural light is just going to be the absolute best. Now you're going to want to be in front of the natural light so that it's casting onto your face. And if you don't have that, there are other lighting options as well. But always seek to take these pictures and film your tapes with that natural light coming in. Self tapes. So we have our digitals. Those are the still images that we send, all different variations. And then we have the self tapes. And these are videos. These are video submissions, and this can be like your actual audition. I've had to recently send in a self tape after a client put me on hold for a shoot, a 2 day shoot down in Miami. And all the client wanted to see in order to move forward was a quick little video of me introducing myself. So basically, it's standing in place of the actual meeting, of the actual go see. Sometimes they'll ask you like a little fun fact about yourself, or they'll ask you to spin on camera, or they might give you lines. If you are auditioning for a runway show, they might want to see your walk. One thing with models and actors too is the hand show. I remember the first time somebody asked me to show my hands, I was a little bit weirded out. I didn't know exactly how to do it on camera, but it goes a little bit of something like this. And they just kind of want to see your hands. I don't know why. Have to chat GPT it later, but I guess maybe just to make sure they're groomed. And they might want to see different poses from you as well. So this is an essential skill. So I'm going to give you guys a scenario here to get you guys in the mindset of somebody who films self-tapes consistently and regularly. So imagine that you submit for a job. How do we submit for jobs? Usually with photos, or headshots. And let's say you're one of 80 submissions, but the next day you get an email and they're telling you, your agent's telling you, hey, the client wants some digitals from you and a self-tape by 12 p.m. tomorrow. So this almost forces us to have to do at-home digitals, which are very common. It's just as like doing a self-tape at home. You can do your digitals at home as well. So they're requesting updated digitals and a self-tape by 12 p.m. tomorrow. Let's say it was 10 a.m. the day before. What are you guys going to do? So this is where the feedback will come into play. If you guys want to find your Q&A box and let me know if you're picking A or you're picking B. Review the requested materials, start making a plan to get it to them as soon as possible, or review the requested materials and start making a plan to get it to them right at noon tomorrow when it's due. So there's a slight difference. And most of you have got it. And yes, I'm going to have to trick you guys next time and come up with a different one. But this is also something that I learned later in my career too. I used to see that a deadline was 12 o'clock. I'd say, okay, I have all of this time. Maybe I can go to the gym tomorrow morning and I could come home, get ready, and I'll submit it, by 11 o'clock, 11:30, and get it to them right before the deadline. No big deal, right? Well, actually, it gives you a better chance at getting selected if you make a plan to get it to them as soon as possible. So if it was 10 a.m. when you received that email and you don't have anything going on till 4 p.m., you might want to get started on it immediately because this is a very competitive industry and decisions are made in seconds. So let's say you are a casting director and you have 5 different brands, 5 different castings, projects that you need to pick the talent for by the end of the week, you might be consistently checking in to see who's submitted already. And so you might not want to wait till the deadline. Maybe you want to see who submitted it the day before. So you could easily get overlooked if you wait until the deadline. Now, not saying that you always will, but if you're looking for, a way to get in sooner, it's always going to be before the deadline. So let's say it was a swimwear client and they want swimwear digitals. Which one to you guys is going to look more professional? These were both taken at home years ago, to be honest. I had to dig up some of my old digitals. But I really do believe at one point I sent in this mirror selfie for a casting. And I also took these digitals in my living room on the right side where I cleared out. I moved my couch. I had window light coming in. And so clearly, we're not going to want to send mirror selfies at all, but this is why I'm here. I'm here to help you guys because I've made many mistakes because I didn't really know. I didn't know. But I'm here to tell you the one on the right is going to look way more professional. You want to have as much as a clear background as possible. Clearly, we're not doing it in the mirror. And how do we get these pictures taken of us? You can set your phone up on a self timer and lean it on a plant and stack a tissue box up against a vase, which I've done before, or you can have the materials at home ready to go. So when you get these in your inbox, you already have your tripod and everything. So I'm going to show you guys that a little bit later. But first, I wanted to show you another example of what could potentially pop into your email here. So they try to make it very easy. I will give that to them. Um, so all talent must send photos and videos to be considered. So they break it down into part one and part two, required photos, required videos. So they give you basically everything that they want. Wardrobe should be stylish, casual, what you would wear at a barbecue. They're trying to get you to dress for the role. Must send recent images showing your current look. Selfies are perfect. So as you can see, some clients prefer selfies and some it's not going to fit what they're looking for. Um, Light makeup, simple hair and clothes. The last page includes a slate. You can print it out or just write out a piece of paper and take a pic with the info. So we're also going to be talking about what a slate is and the two different kinds. So imagine reading this for the first time and having no idea what a slate is. I've been there before. So what I do when I receive this big chunk of information, the very first thing I do is grab a pen. And I don't have my pad here, but I'm going to grab a pen and a paper and I'm going to literally list out every single component that they are asking for. Because obviously this email is coming in on my laptop or it's coming in on my phone. And when I film, I'm not going to be able to go back into my phone and double check. So I need to make myself a list. And it's the same way with any lines that I have to rehearse. I'm going to write out everything very clearly so I'm organized, so I'm ready, because it is a lot of information coming at you. Smile with and without teeth, full body, head to toe, personality shots, a couple cute photos, various angles. Your hands, see, that's when the hands come in, can be holding a glass or an Easter egg. This, I believe, was an Easter commercial for Target. And I actually did get a call back, but I'm not the best actress. I'm more in tune with my modeling skills. So for those of you who are working on both simultaneously, that's going to give you a great advantage. Okay, so these are some of the items that I was talking about that will get you ready to go immediately where you don't have to think. I want you guys to already find a corner of your place that is clear, that has good lighting. I have a huge sliding glass window where the light comes in. I filmed one of those last week there, and then I actually filmed another one outside, which is always a great option too. If you don't get the best light or you have a lot of clutter on the walls, you don't have a blank space, you could always film in front of a garage or something that's going to resemble a blank wall. I don't know how I got through life without this little thing here, the little black handheld device. It's like no bigger than this, and it connects to your phone via Bluetooth. So all the while in the beginning of my career, I was literally setting a self timer on my phone, running to get into frame, posing and watching it count down 1 through 10 or 5 through 1, and then running and pressing it again. So this takes all of that work out. You can set it up on video, you can set it up on photo, and as soon as you hit that click, it's going to start recording. And every time you hit a click, it's going to take a picture as well. So you're free to pose. It saves you a lot of time. Another thing you can get is one of those sticky grippies that's on the back of your phone. I don't have one. I keep saying I'm going to order one, but I don't really love how they stick to everything. So one of my methods was to buy two and stick them together, and that way I could take it off of my phone because it has that sticky side. So it's like forever on your phone. So when you need to push it up against a window or push it up against a mirror to film something, because there are places that your tripod just won't go. So imagine you were auditioning for, user-generated content and they wanted to see you doing your makeup or washing your face in your bathroom sink. That would be a really easy way to just stick it right on the mirror and record. And then the third piece is the tripod. This has been a lifesaver for me. It has different heights that you can pull it to, and you can basically set it far away, walk back, and be able to get your own head to toe images. And yeah, those are the pieces that I suggest that you have. If you already know that natural light is an issue for you based on where you live, you can have these box lights set up. I know a girl who works in New York City all the time. She's consistently filming self-tapes, I'm sure, at all times of day. And so she has a little setup in her house with the box lights and everything. So it depends on how committed you want to be or what your resources really are. I'm tuning in from Florida. This is where I live now, so I feel like I have a lot of good lighting here year round, but it also storms a lot here. So if it was a rainy day, I would have to improvise. So having these lighting sources, this ring light on the left side just hooks right onto your tripod. So that is also another option as well. I wanted to share with you guys some of my most recent digitals that I'm super proud of. I really love them. But like I said, they're already getting older. And so I have to go back in and update my digitals. Those were taken with my agents at the studio or at the agency. And then here's a little example of some digitals that I took at home in my old apartment. And yeah, looking back on it now, probably not a great thing to have. You can see my measuring tape in the back, you can see my bed. Maybe if I had tilted it a little bit more to a blank wall, it probably would have looked a lot better. But this was for a client that I had already worked with, and they wanted to see my current measurements. So I guess I didn't really feel that pressured to make it super professional, but yeah, they can be done at home, they can be done outside. And what I really love about the digitals of that I'm seeing here, so that image of me is when I was a baby, like very first starting out. And I was at my friend's house where I got a self-tape request, and we just took a painting off the wall and took it real quick by her window. But I love these other models, how they're just like the casual lean up against the wall just gives so cool, confident model vibes. The guy on the right, how he's looking off camera is like super James Dean with like his hair slicked back a little bit. So there's all different ways that you can just bring your own unique vibe to it. But yeah, feel free to lean on a wall, wear some cute slacks. I mean, if we're updating these frequently, then we have opportunities to change our outfits all the time and see what looks best and what has the best response. So, to wrap up the first half of this workshop, I want you guys to just understand the following, that your digitals are the very first impression that a client or agency gets of you, and they can truly be your foot in the door. So we want to put a lot of intention into them. Spruce ourselves up. I always love doing some form of self-care before I have to take my digitals, whether it's deep conditioning my hair, trimming my hair, doing a face mask, getting my nails done. Try to put care into yourself so that you can go and be in your best, highest vibration where you feel good, because that's going to translate onto the camera. We did talk about updating every 3 to 4 months. That is a professional expectation of you. Nobody's going to call you to remind you to update your digitals. It's totally up to you. Um, how much you want to keep up with it. And I suggest keeping up with it 3 to 4 months. And the best part of updating our digitals is that you see improvement over time with your images, where you really can wow yourself and say, wow, that is a very strong image. I still have images from years ago that I just, it just takes that one click, that one light, that one little body movement, and you've got this very captivating, powerful images that is going to give you momentum and get you seen and get you noticed and recognized as a professional in this field. And what I love the most too is I can assure you guys that you are going to get more comfortable with it each time you show up, where it's just going to be a breeze. It's going to be like muscle memory. So what you will need is a home setup for your next submission, callback, or media request. So get those items, start looking at your home a little differently, see what you can move out of the way, see where would be your go-to spot if you got an audition self-tape request tomorrow morning. Here is another example, word for word, what I received in my email a couple years ago from a sunglass company that was interested in me. They requested me to do this. So again, there's that word slate. Please slate your name close up and then a full body. They go into wardrobe, your makeup, have them do the video with a pair of glasses, check themselves out, looking into the camera, taking the glasses on and off. So it seems very simple. Like it could be done as long as you have the right setup and the right attitude. You can be done with something like this in under a half hour and submit it for an opportunity to maybe make a couple $1,000s or more. You never know. Um, do a full body shot with and without glasses on, looking to the left, right, and center. And then they were even so kind as to attach a reference, which I will play for you. Now, I want to just kind of say that this reference that they sent has music attached to it, and I'm not sure if the model attached the music or what. But I was always told that putting special music on your videos is not going to help you, it will hinder you. So maybe they added it since they were put that on my hood. I look that. I look good. You can take my bag, but you good. I look that. I look good. So I love the little blowing the kiss at the end. It shows a little bit of personality, a little bit of attitude. But the first thing you're going to want to do is look up the sunglass company that you're auditioning for. Go look at how they're representing themselves on their website, what kind of vibe is on the website of the models, and go ahead and try to replicate that as well. So it can just be a very simple little thing like that. That clip was maybe 15 seconds. Who knows if she got the job, but obviously they liked it enough that they sent it out as a reference. So a slate is going to be your brief camera introduction. Most always your self-tapes are going to be started with a slate. Different companies have different ideas of a slate, whether they want it spoken and then you go right into your audition, or if they want it on a piece of paper. Sometimes they want it on a piece of paper because they're printing it out, they're hanging it up, and they're going over it at a table with the people who make the decisions. And that's why they need it on a piece of paper, or they don't do that and they just want you to write it. So when they say slate your name, automatically it's spoken unless they ask you to write it on a piece of paper. So your spoken slate is always like the following: your name, who you're with, where you're based, and how tall you are. Being tall is not a requirement, but let's say you're casting two lead roles and they have an 8-inch height difference. It might not be ideal for filming. So your height should always be included. My name is Alecia D. I'm with Select Model Management. I'm based in Miami and I'm 5'11". And that would kind of just be your slate. Actors, you're often asked to state whether or not you're union or non-union from there. And models are often asked to show your hands or to move for the camera. Now, I have a very recent video that I submitted. I can't figure out how to embed it in this, but I'm going to try. The movement is most important for the models. They want to see how you connect with the camera, how you move on camera. And it's important to know that these slates are your very first test in the audition to follow all the steps because they can vary. Hold your expression or smile for 2 seconds before cutting the slate. So you don't just want to introduce yourself and then cut it and be done with it. You want to just kind of hold your lasting impression for 2 seconds, which is maybe a cute little smile, a confident wink, whatever. That girl in the other one blew a kiss. It was very playful. And so always want to hold an expression at least 2 seconds after. Some helpful advice for you guys is to think of your self-tape as literally audition room, but to me, the audition room that has like no pressure. If I'm thirsty, if my throat is dry, I can go to my fridge and grab a nice seltzer. If I'm tired, I can make myself a nice coffee and pep myself up. The audition rooms are cutthroat. I always would get really nervous and find it difficult to kind of peel back the layers and just be myself. So, like I said in the beginning, we have a lot of things going for us in this digital age. So, treat it with intention. This is your audition. So, even though you are comfortable in your home, you really want to put your best foot forward. Um, the effort you put into lighting. So there's a lot of different things that go into filming: lighting, sound, framing, and your performance. And that's going to show your commitment. And that's going to be what sets you apart in a sea of talented submissions. So maybe somebody hit the line a lot better, but their framing was out of focus and there was a loud baby crying in the back or something. Not that they would hold that against them, but it's distracting from their talent. So if you can cut all those distractions out and really make sure everything is on point, it will definitely give you an advantage. We're going to film above the waist unless otherwise specified. As a reminder, read the directions thoroughly. I suggest writing everything down, gathering all of your materials together, taking time to really put that intention behind it, process and comprehend exactly what they're asking of you. Filming in natural light is the most important thing, but we do have ways to cheat this with ring lights, box lights, or just film outdoors. And another really important one that I think people overlook is the length of your submission. So if they're asking, I've been asked before, tell us, something that you love, and I ramble on for 2 minutes about how I love my dogs, they're not going to be interested. So you want to kind of think about how you can make it concise. You never want to send a file that's over 2 minutes long, unless, of course, you have a monologue that they are asking you to perform that's over 2 minutes long would be fine. But as a rule of thumb, try to keep it as brief as possible. Another tip for you guys, if you are really committed and serious about auditioning online a lot more, auditioning for everything you see, I know people who have invested in a blue or green backdrop. This shows a whole other level of commitment and professionalism. If you guys are really into commercial acting or acting of any type, the white we all know in the industry, it has a tendency to wash you out. So maybe, you are more vibrant in person and the white is washing you out. Maybe they'll cut you some slack on that. But if you do have a blue or green backdrop with a box light, I feel like that would be the best way to set yourself up if you're going to be reciting lines. And then another pro tip is to dress like the part you're auditioning for. So I recently auditioned for a mother role. I didn't get it. And I think it's because it wasn't really believable because I was just dressed like myself, shorts and a tank top. And so maybe if I had put a little bit more care into kind of dressing like a mom, I'm not a mom, so I don't really know. But that's another thing is that sometimes you don't relate to the part, and that's okay. You still want to try. You still want to get eyes on you. They might be able to consider you for other projects if you're not a good fit for that one. But if you are asked to audition for something that you think, oh, no way, am I a good fit for that? I encourage you to still try and just get good at hearing no. It's okay, or try to imagine yourself in different roles than are outside of your comfort zone. Common mistakes to avoid is bad lighting. Make sure there's no shadows on your face. Poor framing. So make sure when you're framing your audition tape, there's not a ton of blank space above you or below you. You want it to have a good frame. Low energy, no personality. You still, even though you're playing a role, you still want to put your own personal flair on it. So don't get so caught up in playing the role that you forget to let yourself shine and be yourself. Bad sound quality. So if you have a dryer or a dishwasher running in the background, or you have a roommate who's playing a loud TV show, maybe try to minimize all of the noises so that we can really hear your sound quality. If your camera's out of focus, and then one very important thing is just cleaning the lens, giving your lens a nice wipe so everything is nice and crisp. We have so many fingerprints and grime on our phones. Once you wipe it down, you will see a very clear difference. And then we did just talk about having a submission tape that's way too long. And a pro tip for you is to try to be a perfectionist in the amount of time you have. So I don't want you guys to get lost and spend 2 to 3 hours on a small thing that should only take you a half hour. But all details matter. So if there was something you said when you watch it back that didn't seem genuine or authentic, or maybe it was a weird tone, or maybe there was a long pause, all of those details matter. You might think you're the only one who notices them, but if you notice it, just retape it again. I always love to film several takes, and then I will go back and I will heart the ones that I like, that I feel most align with me and my genuine representation of myself, that I feel the most confident about. And I will just go from there and select it. You can also do like a quick practice too, and make sure all the sound is good and watch it back before you get into taping the entire scene. So, as an actor, you might be asked to perform a scene for your audition or perform a monologue. So, I wanted to kind of describe the difference for you guys. A scene is part of a story at a specific time and place between specific characters. And a monologue is a long speech performed by one person. So if you were the leading lady or leading gentleman in a commercial, and you were the one reciting all the lines, that would be a monologue, and they might want to hear all of that. But a scene, maybe you just have a small part in it. And so sometimes your self-tape, they will ask you to find a reader. And the reader is the one who reads the lines that you're responding to, so that there is a dialogue being captured for your self-tape. The reader is always going to be off camera. If I'm sitting here and this is my audition screen, I would want the reader to be maybe 5 feet away so that we could hear their voice in the background, but they're not going to be in the scene with me. And if it was a long monologue that they sent me and I did not have the time to memorize, that's okay. One tip that was shared with me is that you can write out your lines and have a piece of paper and refer to them in a subtle way off camera. So let's say this is the piece of paper, right? I don't want to have my paper like this where you can see that I'm reading my lines. It's okay to glance off camera and check your lines, but make sure you're holding it out or maybe prop it up on a clipboard so you can just refer to it really quick. You don't want it to be blocking your face or in the frame at all. And then if you don't have time also to memorize them all, memorize the first and the last part because that's going to be the first impression and the last impression they have on you. In between, if you have to glance off to check your lines, is okay, but to finish very strongly, and maybe that's the line you practice delivering the most, the beginning and the end, that will solidify your audition as well. So, key points is to film horizontally above the waist. I think when we do our digitals, we're going to want to film vertically or take our pictures vertically. Anytime we're doing video, we want to film it horizontally because unfortunately, when it gets downloaded and put onto a laptop, it will be sideways. So we always want to film horizontally. That's very important to note. Have your eye line off camera. So when you're reading your lines, you don't want to be staring into them. You want to be immersed in the scene and pretend like you're actually looking at somebody else while you're delivering your lines. For some reason, looking directly into the camera when you're slating is okay, but if you're delivering lines, you always want to have your eye line slightly off camera. Make sure your readers are heard clearly in the distance and that your slate is friendly and approachable. So here's an example.
My name is Natalia Dyer. I'm with Sharon Smith, and I'm 5'3".
So if anybody had anything to get off their chest before we pray, now's the time.
Well, I have this friend who won't even sit with us at lunch because we're Christians.
Yeah, Brody.
Look, it's not because you're Christians. It's because you're a coalition of social misfits.
You act like you don't even know us.
That's because you act like you're better than anyone else. I'd rather use my lunchtime to study, just so I wouldn't end up in some pathetic JC like Mark. No offense, Don.
So as you can see, she really only had 3 lines. So it was about her reaction, it was about her interaction, and she was placed right in the middle of a scene for her audition. So it could go a little something like that. And then when we are done, this is like the most technical part of it all, is editing down your submissions, or editing down your recordings and then actually submitting them. So we don't want to add filters. We don't want to add any special effects or music. We don't want it to transition funny, or have any special effects or text on the screen. What they will tell you to do with your materials is to submit via WeTransfer or Dropbox. It's basically like, have you guys ever tried to send or attach a huge attachment, even in a text message or in an email? It doesn't always work. So you have to use these apps or these websites. Now, the Dropbox is easiest because they will give you a link. You click on the link and you literally drop your files right in there. That being said, imagine that you are one of 80 submissions, so then your submission is not titled describing exactly who it's from. So I always advise being on your laptop, renaming everything as a file name, and then submitting from there. You can do it on your phone or you can ask your agency to help you if you don't have a laptop. For a long time, I didn't have a laptop. But also, WeTransfer is a website where you can upload something and it will give you a link instead of a file, and then you just copy that link and you send in the link as your audition. So For naming files, there was a L'Oreal submission that I had to do, and they asked me to name it L'Oreal_Alecia D. They asked for 5 separate different files, but normally I would condense them all into one. And how I do that is I use the Instagram app. Makes it very simple, or any editing app of videos, to just compile them all into one. And you can kind of go in and tweak out any long pauses or silences, and you can trim down your clips so that it's clear and concise and it's all in one file. That's what I use to make it as brief as possible. And yeah, so it's WeTransfer, Dropbox, having a basic understanding of how those work, naming your files correctly, and kind of editing and putting it all together, because they're either going to want 5 separate videos or they're going to want one. So when I did that Target Easter commercial, they asked for just one. So I had to film each scene and then literally just pop them into one big file and then save it from there. And it goes from being, 5 different 30-second clips into one long 2-minute clip where it has your introduction and then it goes right into the audition as well. So if you guys have any questions on that, there's tons of information out there. You can literally go to WeTransfer.com and familiarize yourself with it, and also use the Dropbox as well to familiarize yourself with that as well. So this is our last activity of the night. It's kind of fun. It's a red flag, green flag activity. I know some of you guys are familiar with it. And if you guys have any questions as well, we might have some time to touch on questions. If not, I'm going to leave you guys my email. And so, yeah, the way that this is going to work is you guys are going to find the Q&A box and you're going to let me know whether it's a red flag or a green flag. So we're going to put ourselves in the position of a casting director who's viewing your audition or viewing your digitals. So, filming in front of natural window light during the day, is that a red flag or a green flag? Based on the information given, what would you guys say? Green flag. Okay, so this is going to be rapid fire just so we can kind of get a good understanding. Adding background music to your tape, is that a red flag or a green flag? That's going to be a red flag. We don't want any edits made to it at all. We want it to, again, be blank canvas. Wearing logos or patterns clothing for digitals. You show up to your digitals and you have a big Old Navy t-shirt on. Is that a red flag or green flag? That's going to be a red flag. We want to dress in solid colors. We don't want anything distracting or taking away from our beauty. Looking directly into the camera while performing a scene or reciting lines. Is that a red flag or a green flag? That is going to be a red flag. We always want to have our camera off, our eye line just off camera. Unless we're slating, then it's totally appropriate to look right in. Filming in light that casts harsh shadows on the face. So let's say you go outside to film in front of your garage, but there's a shadow of a tree and it's casting really harsh shadows on your face. That's going to be a red flag. You need to figure out a different lighting scenario for yourself. Now, if that means you have to wake up and do it in the morning light, do it in the morning light. Filming in front of background clutter in your kitchen, you got a sink full of dishes. That instead of watching you perform, they're going to be looking at your dishes. Is that a green flag or a red flag? That's going to be a red flag. Slating with good energy and confidence. Hi, my name is Alecia D. I'm based in Miami. I'm with Select Model Management and I'm 5'11". That's pretty good energy, confidence. That's going to be a green flag. Adding a personal comment like, thanks for watching. I hope you book me. Is that a green flag or a red flag? That's going to be a red flag, guys. We don't want to do that. Holding your smile or expression for 2 seconds after your slate. Let them get a closer look at you is going to be a green flag. Wearing heavy makeup for digitals. You wanted to go full glam, so you put on highlighter, you put on a few fake lashes, tons of blush, lip liner, and a red lip. That's going to be a red flag. Blank canvas, super natural. Super, super natural. Filming your submission with the reader right next to you in the frame. Is that a green flag or a red flag? That's going to be a red flag. We want to have the reader off camera so you can only hear their voice. Submitting your tape 3 hours before the deadline. We talked about this in the very beginning. I would say that's a green flag. Early bird gets the worm. Adding a British accent during your slate to show your range. Funny. Might make them laugh, but totally out of pocket. We don't want to do that unless they're asking for a British accent, so that would be a red flag. Dedicating time so that you can do multiple takes and get practice and be able to select the best one that resonates. That's going to be a green flag. Taking your digitals with hot pink nails and a bunch of distracting jewelry. That's going to be a red flag. Keeping your look close to your natural bookable self. So yeah, if you take your digitals, you are using digitals that you took 3 to 4 months ago, but since you've dyed your hair or cut your hair, that is a red flag. So we want to keep our look natural. So as soon as you change your look in any way, or more than 3 to 4 months have gone by, you want to redo your digital. So try to keep your look close to your natural bookable self. So if they book you with one image in mind and you show up with purple highlights in your hair, that might be a very big red flag. Submitting a selfie in response to a digital request. So if they requested at-home digitals on you and you send in a selfie, that would be a red flag unless, like I showed you, it was noted in there that they were fine with selfies. Sending in 5 different video clips instead of editing down to one. Again, this could be both. It depends on how they requested it. Most of the time, they're going to want one video clip. So edit it down to one would be a green flag. Sending in 5 different ones would be a red flag because it could get lost. So the best way is to have them all in one. Submitting a self-tape that's 5 minutes long, where they asked you to share one fun road trip story and you're going on and on and on in detail about a road trip story for 4 minutes. That's going to be a red flag, guys. Keep it clear and concise, to the point. Like I said, I would give you guys my email. There's my Instagram if you guys want to see my modeling pics. I do a workshop on social media, and I do believe it's probably going to be offered this month or next, so keep your eye out on that. But I'm also back on Saturday. It's going to be noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm very excited. I love a Saturday afternoon class. Wake up, have your coffee before you run all your errands or start cleaning your house. Just hop on to your Zoom, play me in the background. I do not care, but this is a very important workshop. It's all about getting prepared for your first day on set for when you do book a job, because you're doing all of these submissions to the best of your ability. One of these days, you're going to get a call that you booked it. And if you've never been on set, it's a little overwhelming. So I'm going to also outline to you guys in detail all of the expectations of you professionally from the moment you enter the set to when you leave the set. And then Monday night is going to be our portfolio building class where I talk about posing and getting really strong images to market you in the right direction, whether you're modeling or acting. So we have reached the end of tonight's workshop. I super duper hope you guys got a lot out of this and you have some understanding of what's expected of you when you get those requests in your inbox. Feel free always to come back as a refresher. I tend to update a lot of stuff here and there because I'm also learning, constantly learning. That's why I love this industry, is because I am constantly growing and building. So I'm always making sure that I take that information and I share it back with you guys. So it's been my greatest honor to spend the last hour with 32 of you, and I hope to be able to connect with you guys in the future. Best of luck with everything, and have a wonderful rest of your night. And I will see you guys on Saturday, hopefully. Take care.